Good morning. Got up early this morning to drive about 25 miles from my house to a wetlands, and I brought the Sony A6700 and the Sony 200 to 600 FE 5.6 to 6.3 lens down to see if I could find some wildlife at this wetlands to photograph today. Today is September the 3rd, 2023. It's 6 a.m. and it's just right at sunrise. One thing that I've learned about wildlife photography is lighting is everything. If you don't have good lighting, and I'm talking about side lighting, morning light, evening light, then your wildlife photography will look flat. So you got to get up early in the morning to get the good pictures. So when you leave the parking lot, you have to walk about a half a mile back to the back side of this wetlands. And so far this morning, walking down this path, I've jumped 4 deer. They were just right along the path. They seen me and they took off. Well, the further back I come, the foggier it's getting, which is going to make taking photographs this morning a little bit of a challenge. And hopefully this fog will lift a little bit when I get back here. So we stopped here along the path, and there's this interesting tree out here in the middle of the water, and I just seen a few birds on there. So we went ahead and set up here, and we're going to sit here patiently and wait to see if anything comes in. Well, I got my binoculars out of the bag. I remembered to bring them this time. Normally they sit at home on a table next to my chair so I could look around outside the windows at my house. But I just spotted 2 ducks over here in the water, but the fog is really kind of thick, laying low. So I'm just going to hang out and see if maybe the fog will lift a little bit where I can get some photographs of them. I'm not too sure what kind of ducks they are just yet, but I'm going to crank this lens out to 600 millimeters and see what it'll do. So the settings I'm using right now to try and photograph these ducks is 1/500th of a second at f6.3, and the ISO is right around 2000. I've got it set for auto ISO, manual, everything else. Okay, I found a duck perched on a log over there, and it's really foggy. I'm gonna try for some kind of environmental shot. I'm about 450 millimeters, still at 1/500th of a second, and the ISO is right about 1600. So we're going to take a few shots here, and I'll show those in the video now. Normally I wouldn't show images like this of poor quality, but I wanted you to see with the foggy conditions and the low light situation that there was no way that you were going to recover these photographs and make them look like anything. It's best just to go on and delete them. One of the reasons it's so foggy down here this morning is because we're not too far from a body of water, a lake. This is the upper reaches of Watts Bar Lake off the Clinch River. So I wasn't expecting this fog this morning down here in the valley, but it is the fall of the year and it does happen quite frequently. But hopefully the sun will be up here in just a little while, and it's about 40 minutes past sunrise, and burn some of this off and get some good photographs that way. One of the things I like about this A6700 with the 200 to 600 millimeter lens is how compact the rig is. The lens is a little heavy compared to what I'm used to, and I was using a D500 before this with a 500 PF lens, and that lens was very hand holdable, very small, very light. I didn't use a tripod with it very often, but this one here is a little bit heavier. It's going to take a little more getting used to, but so far the quality of the photographs coming out of this rig and this lens and this camera are excellent. I compare those to photographs I'm getting off of the D500 and the 500 PF. So am I sorry that I changed from Nikon D500? No, I'm not. This is going to be a great addition to my photography. I'm really fortunate to have this wetlands only about 25 minutes from my house. It's an area that was created after a natural disaster happened. Well, I don't say natural because it was a man-made disaster. Back in 2008, the Kingston fossil fuel plant, which is nearby, they had a coal ash dump from their coal byproducts. It's a fossil fuel plant right now. I heard they're getting ready to switch it over to natural gas. Anyways, the sediment pond was huge, and the dam on it busted loose and contaminated a bunch of the water. There were a lot of residents that lost their homes that were nearby. A lot of them had to be placed somewhere else. And this wetlands was kind of created from that. So I brought my Rode wireless Go-To mics and plugged into the camera. They plug right into that bottom port behind that cover. So when I'm shooting some video and get some good audio, and I may unplug it here in a minute while I'm talking to see the difference between it and the camera. Microphone's picking me up, standing right behind the camera. So just make sure you open the top door, and the red port is where these external microphones get plugged into. There's a USB-C port in there also, so you know you got the right place. I went to the wrong place, which was down here at the bottom door, and there's another jack, but that's for headphones. As you can see, it's pretty foggy. What's really nice is with this lens, you could shoot through tree branches and stuff that are in your way, and that's what I'm doing right now. And I'll show you here. I'm gonna back out just a little bit with the lens and see what it shows you. See all these tree branches right here? I'm shooting right through them at 600 millimeters to get this, if I can get that focused again on that duck, to get this kind of environmental shot that I'm looking for. It's kind of cool. The fog's getting a little thicker now. So we have this duck sitting out here on a perch that I'm waiting for the fog to lift to try to get an environmental shot. I hear a kingfisher off in the distance. So the fog looks like it's lifting a little bit. This is making conditions a little bit challenging this morning to get the kind of photography I was wanting to get. Well, I've been standing out here for a good 45 minutes still, waiting for this fog to lift so I can get a good photograph. Luckily, the duck is still sitting out there, but also I noticed on a branch on a tree out there is a green heron. So if it sticks around, maybe I can get a photograph of both of those. We're just waiting for the fog to lift. Pretty challenging this morning with that fog, trying to get a good photograph. Fog, lots of it. East Tennessee in the fall, yep. Here's a tip for you. One thing you don't want to forget is your binoculars, okay? Ooh, green heron just landed right in front of me. Hold on, I'll be right back. I don't know if you can see it or not, but this green heron just landed in front of me here, and there's a nice reflection of it in the water. And I'm gonna go ahead and take a few photographs of it, even though it is foggy still, but maybe I can clean that up in post-processing. And we'll show those photographs in the video right now. One of the challenges of using the this new rig is getting it set up correctly. It does have memory presets in it. But you have to set up the photos and the video separately. And it's just a tad bit confusing for this old man's brain. So I'm working through all that, and I hope to put out a couple videos on my trials and tribulations on that, so stay tuned to the channel. We might have some videos about setup for wildlife photography.